As someone who's gone through school and worked through the ranks of the film entertainment industry, what advice would you give to young writers and filmmakers starting from scratch, especially in this current age of the coronavirus?
Man, the coronavirus has knocked me for a loop because as artists, our mental health is so fragile for the most part. No matter how much therapy we go through, we're just more sensitive people. And if you're a artist of color, the struggle is so much realer just from the jump. The odds are completely against you. And so the advice that I would give to anyone who's trying to start is one, this is something that everyone says, if you can do anything else, do that. But if you can't do anything else, if this is tearing out of you, don't think about what's going to make money. Don't think about what's going to sell, what people are going to want to see. If you can get into Sundance, who you can impress with like your Nolan-esque mysteries, just like write something honest and true. And I can say that even though like I thought that I was doing something wrong as a woman of color by not writing hard-hitting like dramatic racial stories.
Mm-hmm.
I write action, I write dark comedies. It's really irreverent, but it is honest from the place of this is who I am. This is who I've always been, and I can't change who I am just because other people expect something different from me. So if you're gonna try, if you're gonna be like, fuck it, I'm stuck inside, I'm gonna like do the project I've always been waiting for, don't try to win an Oscar. Just like try to make yourself happy. If you write from a place of joy, you're never ever going to be disappointed in that. That's it.
So when you advise against trying to get into Sundance and try to get this next big project financed, what are some of the trappings that you see a lot of people like when they get into that? Like what does that lead to? Because if you're advising towards authenticity, what happens when people go the opposite way?
Well, you might find success at first
Mm-hmm.
because you're like, I've done my market research, this is going to play very well.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But if you're just starting out, that works if you've been in this game for like 10 years and you know who you are.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're just starting out and you're figuring out what's my voice, what do I really want to say, the industry will eat you alive. It'll be like, no, that's actually not right. You're going to make so much more money. That's who you are. And you're like, oh, great. I'm making money.
Mm.
This is good. And then 2, 3 years down the line, you might be like, I'm deeply unhappy. I don't relate to my work. And I'm just going to go home. This isn't for me. Um, you have to jealously guard and protect your voice. When you're first starting, it's like you're being just completely naked in front of people. And if you just let every single person criticize you or try to shape you, you don't get to stand on your own 2 feet and be like, this is who I am, and none of you are going to change that. And in the long run, that's what matters. Having a genuine voice that no one can take away from you. You have ownership of that. And especially for like young, hot writers who are like diverse or whatever, people in the studio are going to look at that and be like, porn. This is gonna make me look so good. I have this like amazing new brown girl, and we don't have any of those. So like, let me push her. And it's like, but are you listening to her?
Mm-hmm.
Do you even know what she's trying to do? And it's through ignorance, and it's unfortunate. But the only way to protect yourself from that is to be like super strong and being like, this is what I'm going to do and this is who I am at first. Down the road when you're like, I have a mortgage, I want to write a Disney Channel show,
Yeah.
like, sure. But if you're just starting, all of that, all of that is yet to come. Like one of my very good friends, he was in the army, he was a paratrooper, he was in finance, he has 4 kids. He's like, he's very much in like his middle age of his life. But like he's still a writer and he takes meetings with studios and he gets projects, he does all these things. But it's like you see his trajectory now, like he has a really cool project that is potentially going to like change the way people look at a piece of history. I can't really like divulge more than that. But
Mm-hmm.
he worked so hard for decades to get to that point, and it's finally going to pay off. He very easily could have been like, I was in the military, I can write for any of these shows, I can make so much money, and that would have been totally fine. Like, do you have 4 kids, like do whatever you need to do.
Mm-hmm.
But because he chose this path, like now the project that he's making can change the world. And like you can actually say that with film. So it's like what do you want, and how much do you believe in yourself? Do you believe that what you have to say can change the world? If you do believe that, you have a responsibility to see that through however you can.
I love that because, as a copywriter working for different marketing companies, I know, like, you work for different editors and you work for different marketing managers who have their own vision. And, when you have editors, you know, responsible for your paycheck, like, oftentimes you internalize a lot of that feedback. And so sometimes, that can warp your sense of like, what is my creative identity? And so I really dig that you pride having that authentic voice and not being able to lose that. Speaking of coronavirus, how has this entire thing changed the roadmap for your career? Like, is this completely life altering, or is this a matter of just like, I just need to wait till everything fizzles out and then I can resume?
This is Everyone in Hollywood right now is working under the assumption that everything's going to go back to normal. I am not operating under that assumption because I don't think that it ever will go back to normal. So, for instance, like I was going to shoot my first feature, I was going to direct it. I've been waiting 7 years to find money for this, for someone to be like, yes, I'm going to take a chance on that. And now it's like, well, no one can shoot because coronavirus.
Yeah.
That was a blow. Like I'm still very much in mourning over that loss. That doesn't mean it can't happen again in the future. It sucks right now. But in terms of Hollywood writers have actually been the safest because we can meet over Zoom, and execs still have their jobs. So now more than ever, I've been busier just taking meetings and talking to people over the past like month than I was in the 3 months previous, because all of a sudden everyone's like, I need stuff to read. I have this idea actually. Like, can you do that? But I live in LA,
Mhm.
and every single industry is going to be affected by this. Down to like one big issue on sets right now, because while there are no sets, but when we come back, is how do we feed people? And previously, a lot of these restaurants, the small mom and pop businesses would also cater, and they make a lot of money working for those studios. But now
Mhm.
it's like we can't have communal food because it's a potential hazard. So it's like,
Ah.
so those businesses who relied on that income, like they're already suffering, they're going to be hit harder. And
Mhm.
that's going to happen in so many different aspects. Just being on set and in Hollywood, that I don't think people understand how difficult it is going to be to create a new way of shooting, a new way of producing content. So we'll see.
Well, I have a bunch of other questions, but we'll go ahead and take a quick commercial break.